Wisconsin.
If
Shout
you're
out
familiar
Old
with what I do
World
here on this channel, I
Exploration.
like to provide you with a collection of the architecture to be found in these locations.
Start with the blue today.
And trying to correlate that with the population demographics and the technology at the time. What I have found in almost every location I've looked is that the narrative does not match the story we're getting about history. And we find the same here in Madison as well. I don't even know what this structure was designated as, but it's the classic old world styling with the arches and a very overly ornate and decorative arches, stonework. And a narrative that also always pops up is the asylums, and Madison is no exception to that. You can see here the old Wisconsin State Hospital for the Insane near Madison in Mendota. I have a few shots of that, and I'm looking to the asylums. I did promise an asylum video recently. I'll take some time to really dig into that. There are some horror stories, a lot of strangeness that went on, a lot of things like mass graves, and
we gotta
there's a lot
start
more to the story.
the red.
We're just really scratching the surface on what was going on here, right underneath our noses. You can see the types of buildings, though, and the domes, the overly frivolous use of domes. The suggestion is that the domes were a part of the energetics of the old world system, and they has faded off into myth, basically, intentionally. Right? If you were to suggest that to anybody who wasn't familiar with that concept, they would laugh you out because we have been trained to believe that there is no other energy system but the ones that we have used basically in the last 150 years, courtesy of the Rockefellers and their ilk. I always like to provide some street shots just to give you an idea of the infrastructure along with the architecture. You can see the streetcars. Every city I've looked at had a streetcar infrastructure involved with it. And you get a lot of odd stories of the Brilliant, basically, in Madison. We had the City Hall that was demolished in the 50s. Serious looking structure, very unique looking up here. I often wonder when I see a square flat top that there was more going on as far as domes and spires go. I do have some shots of the demolition here in the 50s as well, taking the wrecking ball to it as the onlookers wonder why, I'm guessing. All in the name of progress. The young ones will be saying progress is great, and the old ones are saying this is a tragedy. And then those young ones become old ones with no memory of the past or no care for the past. Courthouse met the same fate in and around the same time. 3-year build time on this, built by this Henry C.
No, save the courthouse.
Koch, not sure. And a quick look at this character, Mr. Koch.
Should be good.
You can see that his styling very similar to Mr. H.H. Richardson, who we've looked into pretty deeply on this channel. He's been one of the founders, one of the men whose name is attributed to the styling that we so often see. Koch responsible for the amazing City Hall in Milwaukee, and among many other spectacular structures. And what we find is that these architects seem to pull off superhuman feats and manage to build these amazing structures all over the place. And what the suggestion is that they're just attributing these old world structures to these figureheads who more often than not have affiliations with some sort of gentleman's club. And we can see here, if we dig a little deeper, let's look at an old newspaper article. Just a quick snippet of when the man died. Of course, we use newspaper articles to chart history, so they really are dictating terms of how history goes. Henry C. Koch, one of Milwaukee's foremost architects, designed the county courthouse in Racine, Wisconsin. Died in his home in Milwaukee last. He was 69 years old. Designed many of Milwaukee's large buildings, including City Hall and the Wells Building. Survived by his wife, 6 children, one of whom helped him build. We get to the end of the article. It says Mr. Koch was a 32nd degree and Mason at the top here. So this always seems to be the same story. And I feel like this was a reward that was doled out in these gentlemen's clubs. I think there's no way that these were getting built in the timelines that they said they were being built. and being designed by these gentlemen. It's just, it's not humanly possible when you start to put the numbers together. This is a look at the demolition of the structure in the 50s. And you can see the turret off the back as well before we move on from the courthouse. Here's an old train station, just a quick look, postcard form.
Train station.
And
Swag.
school, East High School, we call that one. There's a nice look at the main thoroughfare with the Capitol building in the background. You can see the Orpheum and the Capitol, and so many old theaters as well that seem to predate in so many ways the motion pictures. The rise of the motion pictures in North America, a large part of the spell that we've been under here for quite some time. And I think a lot of these old world theaters, performing arts potentially, were transformed into places where we can go get brainwashed, basically, to put it bluntly. There's a boathouse, yet another performing arts center. This is the Fuller Opera House, built in 1891. They did demolish in that same time period again. So in the 1950s, seeing a wholesale demolition, basically, in Madison, Wisconsin. This is a quick look at the interior of the Opera House, the Fuller Opera House in Madison. And along the way, they did change it to the Parkway Theater before they took the wrecking ball to this thing. And there's a nice shot of the, maybe not so nice shot, of the demolition process. We'll keep moving forward and just have a quick shot of the hospital, General Hospital. And an old rendering of the Bruins block. I think there were many more structures that we don't really even know about, and sometimes they do get depicted in drawings, but a lot of them have slipped through the cracks of history and can't be found with much research online. Now, maybe some people say, well, all these pictures are in archives somewhere. Well, I think we're at that day and age where these archives should be uploaded and available to the public, and if they're not, then you have to ask the question why. The historical library, built in 1900. Remember, only 19,000 people living there in 1900, and yet they had the justification and the means to build this as their library. And the excuse will be made that it's a capital city, but still very small. Just a look at the interior of this thing, and a bit of the exterior with all the iconography and rosettes going on under here, the lions, magnificent structure, perfectly put together. Who were all the builders? I don't want to hear about the architects. Who were the builders? And just a residence in Madison, Wisconsin. So much detail, so much time would have had to have gone into so much of this architecture. The resources just aren't there. Here's the old jail. Neat looking turret on the corner and a very large archway. We have the temple, Gentlemen's Club Temple, built in the 20s, we're told. And often I think possibly what they do with some of these is they flatten them off a bit, and they're built upon the foundations of structures with the bones of the structures of the buildings that came before. That's, I think, is often the case. If anyone is from the area and knows anything about Madison, I would love to know if there are any urban legends or stories of anything going on underground. Usually we get that information from the locals, so I appreciate if you would put that in the comment section. Here we have the Sugar Distillery. I think it is now some other distillery. I think they make alcohol there, but having a bit of a castle feel. The Orphans' Home looked like an octagonal central building, and no shortage of orphans as well. All of these things, the narrative repeats no matter where we look. Look at this guy leaning on the ladder. So we have orphans, asylums, all of these things were happening everywhere. There's another nice look at all of the orphans waiting for someone to give them a home. And then we'll keep moving forward to the Park Hotel, built in the 1870s. In the 1870s, Madison, Wisconsin had less than 10,000 people living there, but they felt the need to build a hotel in such a manner, I suppose. And there's a nice look at that hotel. And apparently they built it, they refacaded it, and again used the bones of the old building to build to make the new Park Hotel basically in the same spot. And there it is, new Park Hotel refacaded. Going back to the old one though, with its mansard style roof, very difficult to accomplish construction-wise. And of course the lower windows ticking all the boxes that we're so used to seeing here on this channel. Beautiful looking hotel. You wonder why they felt the need to refacade that. And there's just a quick look at the interior of the Park Hotel in Madison, Wisconsin. Here's another strange outlier in the narrative. The old post office built in 1869. Again, less than 10,000 people living there. Yet we have this being built as the post office. Again, ticking all the boxes. Look at the lower windows, arched openings, pedimented covered openings, circular windows, massive roof, difficult construction. Who were the builders? Where were all the resources coming from? You have to ask the question why. Long gone, I didn't mention. Also demolished in the 20s. A very early time period for them to demolish such a structure. And then you have the iconography in the surrounding area with all the statues, the fence work, the gate work. It's all very elaborate and all par for the course as we look into the old world. The public library. This is St. Raphael's Church. And this one actually met the wrecking ball not long ago. You can see here modern day demolition going on here. I do have some shots of the interior though to preserve its memory. There's a quick look at the interior. And a skyline shot of the St. Raphael's Cathedral with several others nearby. It seems like gratuitous, really, when you think about it, the amount of cathedrals and churches. St. James's Catholic Church. So many churches. So few builders that we know about. Another hospital. But we'll move on to the real gem, and I have covered this in my state capitals building. I've also covered this architect George B. Post in another video. So if you're interested in the vast amount of works that this gentleman is responsible for, and I definitely think it's worth taking a quick peek at some of his work. Let's scroll down to his partial list of works, and you get an idea of the structures. Most of them demolished actually too. But these are all the buildings that were said to have been designed by Mr. George B. Post. Some of them we don't get pictures of, and so much, again, for such a celebrated architect, so much has been destroyed, demolished. So that's just a taste. And if you want to see more on him, again, go check out that video. I did an in-depth look at the structures attributed to this gentleman. But let's dig into the state capitol. And obviously not the first state capitol. They're putting we saw in the beginning of the video, they're putting the cornerstone in 1837 for the first one. We can jump to the previous state capitol, previous to this one, we're told. And again, I think what they do is they layer these things to give us a sense of chronology. But this one apparently was built between 1857 and 1869. All at a time when there's less than 10,000 people living in Madison. Interesting story. On the night of February 26, 1904, gas jet ignited newly varnished ceiling in this Capitol building. Although the building had an advanced firefighting system, the nearby University of Wisconsin-Madison's reservoir, which supplied the Capitol, was empty. Well, where else have we heard that story? The reservoir was empty. Let me think. Brings to mind early 2025. I'll let you figure that one out. And supposedly these are the shots of the Capitol, the previous Capitol building on fire. And then these guys are demolishing the old Capitol before they get to build the existing Capitol. Some more shots of the interior. And then we get to the construction of the existing one. And I find this very suspect. We have what look to be two different qualities of photographs. This does not look to me real in any way whatsoever. You've got some cranes going on here, poking in all different directions. No cranes up here. And you have the skeleton of the dome intact. And then you have the front facade looking to be complete and looking old. Let's look at some modern photographs of the Capitol before we move on. An absolute stunner. The state capitals in the states should really give you pause for thought as to their origins when you see this kind of architecture. And remember, at the time, there's really only 25,000 people living in Madison, and this is what they produced.
Beautiful.
And you can see, well, they brought in the best and brightest from the outlying areas, but the problem is when you look at enough locations as I have, you find that this type of construction was going on everywhere at the same time. So that does not fly. All right, we'll move on from the Capitol. Another hospital, so it's 3 hospitals now. I just have a random photo of the Orpheum Theater. We did see it on the main stretch there. So this is some of the interior of that structure. So some don't look all that magnificent, looking very rectangular from the street. And then you go inside and this is the interior. These types of buildings are real feats of engineering, the way that they're designed, and of course real feats of architecture as well. Several theaters. This is the Barrymore with a bit of a unique look.
Barrymore.
Looking like it still stands. A bit of old world flavor, and it really jumps out at you in the modern day, that old world aspect of it, especially when you compare it to the surrounding buildings, the boxes and rectangles and squares. The Capitol Theater, and behind the billboard here, you can see the decorations and the cartouches, which pop up a lot in our research as well. The Madison Theater, yet another theater.
Brickwork.
The Orpheum, there's the Orpheum. So this is what I was talking about. The exterior, not really blowing you away, but the interior was spectacular. Now here's some more of the interior of the Orpheum Theater. And the Strand Theater as well, with its neighbor. I'm not sure what that is next to it. That's a beautiful looking structure as well. The Strand is actually hidden by the big sign out front. I have this down as the Turn Hall. And then we get to a lot of the university buildings, University of Wisconsin in Madison. And just to give you a taste of the type of architecture and what I think was going on with a lot of these universities was that they were being designated as such, and a lot of the architecture was being purposed for those reasons. I don't think they were building them when they said they were building them. They may have been overhauling them. This is the old Bascom Hall, and as is typical with the narrative, it once had an amazing dome on the top, looking like it could easily be a state capitol building. And a fire destroyed the dome in 1916. This was built in the 1850s, and there's less than 6,000 people, probably about 4,000 or 5,000 people living in Madison at the time. And again, we get a similar story. The students and the Madison Fire Department attempt to extinguish it, but rotten fire hoses hindered the efforts. Very lame, if you ask me. The storylines here. Here's supposedly, I don't know, is that a photograph of the dome burning? It smells like arson to me. And there it is in the modern day without the dome, still looking magnificent, but you can just imagine if there was a dome on top. You have probably more people asking questions. Okay. Having the real look and feel of a Capitol building, even though there's already, so probably a special location, certainly not the swamp and wooded area that we're told it was in the 1830s. But they had the foresight to designate it a capital city, even though there was nobody living there. seems a bit strange, doesn't it? Very ornate looking dome. The Chatborn Hall, covered in leaves here. And there it is, without the leaves. The College of Agriculture. You wonder almost if there was a dome here as well. How many domes have been removed over time? Domes and spires. There it is again, the College of Agriculture. Another building, a part of that complex, or a part of that school, sorry, the College of Agriculture. The Dairy Hall, yet again. Of course, cheese being synonymous with Wisconsin, but look at the chimney tower here. Very detailed. Engineering building, again. All of these very well built, and all of them coming out of that early time period when there were not a lot of people living in Madison. The Memorial Hall, most beautiful and useful union in America, the Memorial Hall. I'm going to see some of the interior as we move forward here, but we're still looking at the exterior, showing us all the hallmarks of the old world. A truly spectacular looking structure. And some of the interior for you, circular skylights. Anyone installed a circular skylight before? Let me know how difficult it was if you did. Yeah, this is the level of finish in the university building for the Memorial Hall. What do you think? Old world? Or is everything on the up and up? Here's the music hall, part of the university as well. It still stands. There it is in the modern day. The Red Gym University Gymnasium. No, not an armory. Not an armory. No, that's a gymnasium. And it does still stand as well. There it is, very red. I can see why they call it the Red Gym. I mean, how does that not just jump out at you?
The Red Gym is just a castle.
You asking questions. They really had us under a spell. And there's the very elaborate brickwork going on there. The Science Hall, I think designed by that Koch architect as well, having a similar feel to the courthouse we saw that was demolished. This one still stands. You can see the level of detail on there. Science Hall. This one looks like it burned as well, so we've got a good number of fires here, and we've got a good number of shadowy figures in the foreground as well. And just another look at that open thoroughfare, the university campus, University of Wisconsin. Is it the Badgers? Wisconsin Badgers?
Badger.
Mushroom. File here. Just a taste of Wisconsin for you. This is the field house. If you have any locations that you'd like me to check out, let me know in the comments section. If you really want me to get to it, you can send me a donation to let me know how you support what I do here on this channel, and I will put your location at the top of the list. And I like to end on a YMCA. There you have it.
There you have it, folks.
Wisconsin. This has been an old.
Switch it up and go. Now I'm gonna keep the same YouTuber going because he seems chill. It's him and this guy named Kairos, I guess. They did a live together. Talking about
Hey,
San
Kairos,
Francisco.
how you doing?
Area, they have a Ferris wheel on display now. Then we see the marina area and Fisherman's Wharf, the Ghirardelli Square. Welcome in all chatters. Great to have everyone here. This is the area that is approaching the site of the Pan Pacific in the foreground now. That's approximately 2 miles by 1/2 mile. We're going to go look closely at Fort Point once again underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. This is from the Marin Headlands, so Alcatraz in full view and Treasure Island site of the Golden Gate International Exhibition behind. Then we're going to get a special treat. I've seen this property now from many locations. This is Battery Cavallo, and we touched on it briefly. I'm calling it the biggest star fort in the Bay Area that no one knows about. So we're going to go into this site through the brick tunnels, and I'll be standing on that ridge right behind where that sign is in the foreground. We're going to be showing these videos and likely able to stop briefly for some questions or continue to let it roll. But I wanted to get everyone familiar with the location. We'll look at the maps in just a moment and really show the proximity of these 3 massive fortresses that they do have things in common. So we're going to find that they're made during the time either during or shortly after the American Civil War. They're made mostly of bricks. They're precise geometry and masonry, cut granite, and varying degrees of wear. But the craftsmanship is unmatched. These are not showing significant or any damage from any of the Bay Area earthquakes.
Let's preface
well known.
with a little San Francisco history, if you don't mind. San Francisco, relatively new city, isn't it? Like 1849, am I right? Is that the year San Francisco became a city? I'm sure you know a lot more.
So I know how to describe the narrative, I guess you could say. How to repeat back what I've been told. So I think you might be better at that. But we're going to look at patterns and similarities. So as we're looking at the city and the map, and the location that we're going to be focusing on, so West Coast, United States, San Francisco, we have the approximately 7-mile by 7-mile precision laid out city. So very interesting. Supposedly a population of 1,000 in 1848.
Shout out to Yerba
So
Buena.
very late start with a
That's where
tremendous
PsiloSage
amount
was born.
of build out over the time period.
What they now call
But I
San
want to show the
Francisco.
locations of where we'll be. So here's Alcatraz, the center of
1995.
Treasure Island back here. Under the Golden Gate
Came
Bridge
alive.
is Fort Point. The Battery Cavallo is the one that has caught my eye on a number of occasions. It's just in this Fort Baker area. Most of this is accessible park. So you're able to go in, drive down into this area. There is a parking space here, and there are trails, and you come up through the trail, and you find your way going through here and into the actual battery itself, which from the sky now doesn't really resemble a lot. But if you know where to look, you will start to see that we have significant portals, entries, openings, walls, battery points, and then there's a tremendous earthwork which is part of this building, part of the structure. So you notice from back at this corner all the way over to this corner is all part of the layout of the property. So we need to take into consideration that it's over 1,100 feet. So quite large and a very unusual location. so very remote. And during this time period, when it was said to be built leading into the 1870s, there were no bridges, there were no roads, there was really not a lot of support for materials because we were told that all of this amazing construction was currently happening in every one of these local communities using grit brick. But we want to, again, use the tools that we have and see what's available. So I like to toggle over to the terrain feature of just Google Map. It's like, I call it like a LiDAR light. So you can see that it does have geometric mirrored precision on each side of these wings, which does have sort of the appearance of...
Can you zoom out a little bit more, if you don't mind?
I can, but we lose the resolution of the terrain on Google Map. They limit you. So we'll be starting here, then we're going to return to Alcatraz, not escape. And we're going to have an opportunity to review some of the footage that I have from a number of videos as we enter the dock facility, walk around the front, enter the so-called parade ground, which turns out that all of this area, all of the concrete pad, is covering up a very large number of Civil War or earlier era underground brick passageways. And we'll come to see that the entire island is constructed for the most part. So we're going to find tremendous buttresses made of large megalithic stones, large granite pieces that are making up features. Each of these buildings are all brick. We're going to go underground into the portal, and we'll find out that what these two have in common is they're built with red brick in remote locations at a time where bricks would be difficult to obtain, built in a very quick time period, and a lot of records are lacking. So it's one of the interesting stories. So Cavallo.
I was surprised at how much the need for defense was justified, military defense.
Swag, shout out that YouTuber, but I actually already saw that live. I guess it's the other person uploaded it, but I saw it when the first person uploaded it, so I'm gonna switch it up to something else. Shout out Easter Island and the Polynesian.
Antes de que existieran los viñedos y el puerto de Ensenada,
other side of this remote ravine, perched hundreds of feet above the riverbed, is one of the greatest mysteries in all of China. The hanging coffins of the Bo people. The Bo tribe have become legendary for their phenomenal habit of burying their dead in these impossible vertical cemeteries.
When I first visited, I was strictly coming in as an explorer with a sense of trying to discover something that perhaps the rest of the world don't know. We realized that, hey, here's something that is unique and mysterious. As someone from the 21st century, to even imagine remotely that hundreds of years ago, 1,000 years ago, these people here were able to pretty much freehand climb these cliffs, putting a huge weight on the cliff face. This is unthinkable.
The Bo were wiped out in the massacre by the Ming Dynasty in the 16th century. They left no written records, and the only remaining clues to this extraordinary tribe are their precarious hanging coffins. Our man has sent an expedition team to gather new evidence about the hanging coffins and the Bo people, their customs and traditions. Did any of the Bo survive the massacre? Do the Bo have living descendants today? The focus of the expedition is here, some 1,500 miles from the major city of Beijing, in northern Yunnan and southern Sichuan, the heart of what was once Bo country.
That's why we got the Psilo pillow.
Archaeological
just be
investigators
chill.
from the China Research and Exploration Society, along with our film crew, are first heading for one of the most spectacular coffin locations ever found, Doushaguan. The cliff at Doushaguan is over 700 feet tall, and wedged in the crack right in the middle is a cluster of wooden coffins. No one has ever managed to reach these coffins. The expedition team is eager to climb the cliff and see what clues lie inside.
They just use a hot air balloon.
Liu Hong is the explorer whose job it is to get everyone up to the coffins. And Dr. Ji Xueping is head of the expedition.
It's very difficult to study this coffin size. You need huge amounts of funding, and you have to take a lot of safety precautions. So over the years, there hasn't been a great deal of research on the coffins.
Nice rhythm.
Before Ji Xueping can even think about getting to the coffins, he must first send Liu Hong and Roger Graham, the safety officer, to check out the route. Even crossing the river is a challenge. It looks peaceful enough right now, but flash floods are frequent in these remote mountains of Yunnan.
I can see one of the coffins there. So we're going to get up here and then cut across there. Doesn't look too bad from here, but
That's why.
shall we have a look?
The reason I joined the expedition was to find out who put this hanging coffin up there, what's inside, who did it belong to. These questions are all part of the mystery and greatly intrigue me.
对我有很大的吸引力。
Hey Leo, come here for a sec. How you doing? That's weird, not so big. Let's have a look. Yeah.
But even for experienced climbers with modern equipment, this is a hazardous route, let alone for Ji Xueping and the other researchers.
We're not going to get up here. No way. Roger that, Harry. It's seriously loose, and it's going to be lethal if I go much further.
Nothing can be done in the apartment with it, and don't attempt to climb it.
I think we turn around because I can go, but if I fall because of a loose rock, it's going to be death.
But somehow the bow people managed to scale these heights with no climbing equipment and carrying a 500-pound coffin.
The difficulty in getting a coffin up there seems insurmountable given the terrain. It's very crumbly, it's very steep, it's very high. I don't know how they did it safely. I mean, they may have lost a few people along the way. I don't know whether it mattered back then, but I would say that it would have been extremely difficult and dangerous.
The bow people were able to achieve this amazing feat during the Ming Dynasty. Today, our expedition team failed. To find success, they must head for a new coffin site, deeper into the mountains.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the trip.
How on earth did the bow manage to hang their coffins 300 feet up the side of a sheer cliff over 1,000 years ago?
I'm always very inquisitive. And of course, the first question asked was how did they do it? You know, how can they put up these hundreds of pounds coffins? Stylistically, there are a number of different ones. But still, the lower part is stuck up from one piece of wood, one piece of timber, which means that it will be very heavy.
No one knows exactly how the bow managed to heave this great weight halfway up a sheer cliff. Some say they waited until the rivers were so high they could just float up. For others, the only solution is that the bow people could fly.
They were the air tribe.
1,000 years ago, all that was available to the bow was an axe, hammer and chisel, wood, rope, and manpower. Somehow, with these simple tools, they managed this extraordinary task. What is clear is this: the bow afforded great honor and care to the handling of their dead.
Dunkin' refreshers. Get a $3 medium for Dunkin' Rewards members. The Tacoma 101 irons are making golf easier and more fun for golfers all around the globe. They've got everything you need in a set of irons without the premium price tag. A set of Tacoma 101 irons start at under $500.
I really did avoid mirrors, and now I see a mirror. I'm like, hello, gorgeous.
With Hotels.com,
We got the ads going. Sorry.
Our ancestors have a saying, treat the dead as if they are still alive. They believe the dead person has simply moved to a new place, and that they will continue their daily life once they reach the other side. Wearing clothes, eating and drinking. So you have to provide them with their day-to-day items in the coffin. These burial items show that the Bo were very advanced in agriculture. They knew how to produce silk and very fine linen by cultivating silkworms.
These costumes are directly modeled from the clothes found on Bo corpses. The coffin is authentic as well. The skills to make these items can be readily found in rural China today. But what no one has accomplished in over 400 years is to get a 500-pound coffin up to the top of a cliff.
Y'all see the strokes. Stroke and active devotion. Prayer. Let that ink trim.
他们这个书画全观呢，个人认为它的短
I think the method of hanging varies from region to region. For instance, in Masarba, there are holes found at the bottom, and from the pattern, you can tell they probably have created the Zhangbao, which is some narrow footway perched on pegs winding up the cliff. Then they just carry the coffin up from the bottom.
就从压一下底。
Another method mentioned in the archives was to send someone up there first, then attach ropes to the coffin and pull it up.
像拱线的方法跟这儿不一样。
theory. But for the bow, this epic funeral ceremony would have been a routine event. There are still many coffins dotting the landscape of southwest China. They could reveal many clues about the mysterious life and death of the bow. Haoman's team is driving further into the remote northern corner of Yunnan. The roads get rougher. The convoy winds slowly through the rough terrain, proceeding at a walking pace. Having failed to reach the coffins at Doushaguan, the team is hoping for greater success in the valley of Longma. Their search may yield more clues to this mysterious and uncharted region. This is the end of the road. The entire team must now walk the last few miles to this new and unexplored coffin site.
There have been rumors about the existence of hanging coffins at Longma for quite a long time. But because of the remoteness of the location and the transport problems, no one from outside has ever been there before. We don't know what we're going to find. Of course, it's very exciting to be the first ones there, with a chance to solve some mysteries, a chance to reveal this mysterious phenomenon to the world.
Liu Hong has already visited the site to organize the building of some scaffolding.
I was very excited because the hanging coffins were so high up on the mountain cliff. We could only see them from afar. They were very, very mysterious.
Although it's a long march to Longma, once they get there, reaching the coffins should be a whole lot easier than Doushaguan. After a 2-hour walk, the team finally reaches Longma, home to a few dozen villagers, and site of an unexplored burial ground of the Bo people.
现在很远。哎，哪里？辛苦了呀，姐姐。辛苦了，赶了2天了。那个7个洞，1个2个。7个，还有这前边。哦，那个。东北一般是7个洞。
Scattered along the length of the cliff, there are 7 caves, which could
Yeah, we
contain
went in today, we
hundreds
did
of
our thing,
skeletons of
pretty
the
much
Bo.
done for the stream.
今天这个那个还有半节关车站呢，这个地方估计明天可以盖到这样。明天什么时候可以盖到？
Now it is just a matter of time. The scaffolding is already well into construction, built from bamboo in the same traditional style used in China for several centuries. But even when it's complete, the scaffolding will only reach some of the caves on the Longma Cliff. Qixue company has decided to send climbers to some of the more inaccessible caves.
I guess you're about 6 feet. Just across a little ridge of rock.
Even with modern climbing equipment, getting into these caves is difficult and dangerous.
这边再过来大一点这个地方。I will make it try.
Okay, come back down and we'll just run the new line across that.
For Liu Hong, hanging down has proved impossible. The only chance of getting into the caves is to haul himself up.
Red, we got the blue, we got the swag, we got the green. Deep in the pink. It's the alchemy, baby. Swag out on the
Is
swag.
anything in the cave?
Got the silver swag.
So I'm not too sure what
Silver swag coming out whenever. Dreams of him.
There's a piece of wood here that seems to be, it looks like it's put in as a wedge, but also maybe where the coffin was sitting on.
Can you take a small piece of wood for us?
Yes. The way it's been chiseled, it fits in the rock like a jigsaw puzzle.
都有人活动过的痕迹。
We found wooden and stone supports, but no coffins. Whether they never got round to installing the coffins in the first place, or whether they were damaged due to vandalism, we don't know. But one thing is for sure, those caves have signs of human
但
activities.
是这些洞都是有人活动过的。
Native clean yoga and keeps you smelling divine for 72 hours.
No ads on my video.
At one time, within living memory, there were over 12 coffins sticking out here at Longma. For the archaeologists, their hopes of solving the mystery are now pinned on the one remaining coffin in the highest of the caves.
I think the most fascinating question is not how they do it, but why they do it. My suspicion is that it has to be something very spiritual. As Chinese, we are not used to seeing coffins exposed. We consider something very important and sacred. And here, these coffins are all open to the aliens.
The vast majority of the Chinese population are Han people, originally from the north of the country, but there are still over 50 minority ethnic groups in China, with 24 concentrated in the mountains of Yunnan. Throughout China, death, the funeral ceremony, and the worship of ancestors are all of great significance. Different tribes have different ways of showing it. The ideal place for a hand tomb is in the ground, on the side of a hill, overlooking the living. This combination is thought to bring good fortune to the descendants. What is surprising about the hanging coffins is that it is the complete opposite. Perched up in the air, ungrounded, and separated from the living family. This reveals a lot about the Bow's worldview, according to Guo Jing, an expert on the minority tribes of China.
像那个玄关一般出现的地方都是有岩石的地方。有岩石的地方的话，在 hanging coffins generally appear where there are rocks, and rocky places have special meanings for many tribes. 空的一个天梯。Some view mountains as a stairway to heaven. 一个连接，是一个起着一个连接的作用。就是如 If the Bo believe that the spirits of the dead ancestors lived in heaven, then maybe the hanging coffins were a bridge between this world and the next. A stepping stone between the living and the dead. 沟通的这样一个通道。
The Bo wrote nothing down about why or how they hung their coffins. But the ruling Han people kept diligent records of the entire Ming dynasty. Hidden in the
y'all.
China are a few
I think we're good for today.
people and their
With
coffins.
that session, at least we spent a good hour on it. If y'all look on the details.
Professor Lin Xiang has been studying the hanging coffins mystery for over 30 years. He believes it came about partly for practical reasons and partly through spiritual belief.